Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. So I know that I've been gone for a while, but that is because I had my surgery. Today is actually my 1 month anniversary from surgery, and so I decided that I wanted to come on here and make a video explaining all about how my surgery day went, how my hospital stay went, and what's happened in that time that I've been gone. So if you are interested in watching that, please stay tuned. Alright, so my surgery was exactly a month ago today on January 9th, 2019. It was scheduled for 8 a.m. I had to be at the hospital at 6 a.m. So my mom and I got up super early. We drove to the hospital, got all checked in, and then the first thing that they did was take me back to the lab. I had to get blood drawn if I needed blood in the OR or anything. They knew my blood type and everything already. And then I had to do a urinalysis just to rule out pregnancy. After that, they took me up to check in for my actual surgery. And from there, we went back to the pre-op area. Back there, it was kind of a whirlwind. It went so fast. It was, about a 2-hour, hour and a half window that I was back there after getting checked in and everything before surgery. And it just blew right by because it was so busy back there. So the first thing that they did was come back. They had me change into a gown. And then the nurses came back and they started working on me. They gave me my IV. They talked me through everything, did my medical history, got me all set up and ready to go. Went over any paperwork that I had to do before surgery. And then it was just waiting for the anesthesiologist to come in, as well as the surgeon to come in and talk to me. So a couple minutes went by and the anesthesiologist came in first, and he just kind of asked me if I had had any surgeries before, and I hadn't, except for my wisdom teeth, and that was quite a few years ago. He went over any concerns I had, and I didn't have any at the time, so that went smoothly. And then the surgeon came in and he just, kind of asked if I had any questions or concerns about the surgery, and I didn't. I had asked all those beforehand, of course. So then it was just waiting to get wheeled back. So a couple nurses came over to my little cot in the area that I was in for pre-op, and they put a foil hairnet on me. They went over my name and everything again, just to make sure that they had the right patient. I said goodbye to my mom, and they told her where to go so that they could give her updates and everything while I was in surgery. And then they wheeled me out of there down a long, freezing hallway. I remember how cold it was when we went through those doors. And then we went into the OR. When I got into the OR, they had me move from the bed onto the operating table, and then they laid me down flat, and the anesthesiologist, he told me that he was going to give me some happy juice to calm my nerves. That's the last thing I remember before waking up after surgery. So whatever he gave me, it was strong and it was good. So when I woke up, I was in recovery. I don't remember what time it was when I got to recovery. I was in and out of it. I was dazed. I was confused. I was in pain. I remember that. I had a nurse next to me every time I would kind of come to, and she would ask me if I was in pain. I was like, yep. And then she would give me more medicine. I would fall back asleep. Towards the end of me being in recovery, I was more coherent and awake. Not 100% myself yet, but I was able to stay awake. And then all that I remember is somebody came and got my bed, and then he wheeled me up to my room where my mom was waiting for me. And I was so happy to be in my room, but I was in so much pain. I did not anticipate how much pain I would be in. And it was awful. I mean, I have a low pain tolerance anyway, and I had kind of prepared myself a little bit, like told myself, this is a surgery, it's gonna hurt, but I had no idea what I was in for. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't remember a whole lot from my first day. I know I had family and friends come up and visit me a couple of times. They didn't let me have any I was in PO, so I couldn't have any water or food at all. They gave me some not cotton, but like sponge swabs that I could dip in water and then swab around my mouth, which helped tremendously. I went through quite a few of those just because it was so dry and I couldn't have anything. And then when they sent me up to my room, I had these things on my legs that squeeze your legs to promote blood flow, to prevent blood clots. And they were just like a plastic contraption, and they were just irritating me so bad. They were making my legs sweaty, they were making my legs hot. I hated it. And then as well, when they transferred me from the OR table to my bed, they left like a plastic like transport sheet under me, which was also making me super hot and uncomfortable. And so I begged and pleaded my nurses to get that out from under me just so I could sleep and be more comfortable. But that entailed me having to stand up, which I was not ready for. I again was in so much pain, and I was just in a lot of pain, to put it lightly. But I did manage to stand up so that they could change everything out on my bed, which helped me tremendously. I was able to finally sleep and be comfortable. And they did take I can't remember what they're called for the life of me, but they took those contraptions off of my legs, which also helped a lot. I was able to actually lay there, and while I was still uncomfortable and pain, I wasn't hot and sticky and sweaty from all of those plastic things being on me. So after day 1, we moved into day 2, and day 2 was a pretty hard day for me. I didn't have the typical recovery that most people do with this surgery. Unfortunately, I did have a little bit of complication after surgery. Nothing due to the surgery itself, but eventually we did figure out what went wrong. But day 2, during the day, I was okay. My grandma was there with me. My mom did go home so she could get some rest. So my grandma stayed there with me. And while I was sitting in the chair watching TV, all of a sudden she looked at me and noticed that I had a rash on my face. And it was just a little red dot. And it was really, really hot. Like, it wasn't itchy, it didn't hurt. It was just hot, like sunburn. Like I had laid out in the sun for hours and hours and hours hot. And it kind of traveled. It went from my cheek to more of my cheek, down my neck, to my chest, to my arms, in like a cycle, and then it would go away and then it would come back. And we didn't really know what to relate it to. Like there wasn't a direct timeline between a medicine and the rash, and it would just come and go and come and go, and take hours to go away. And I just remember being so hot from it, but not itchy or anything, so they really didn't know what it was. And then later that night, I still had the rash. I was laying in bed, and at this point my mom had come back up to the hospital to spend the night with me because of that. And I had the rash, and then about 11 o'clock midnight, I would say, I got a fever. I had a little, it was steadily climbing throughout the day, but at that point it had spiked. I think the highest that I got up to was 102.2. And they really didn't know what that was related to as well. There wasn't a direct correlation to the rash, there wasn't a correlation to medicine, so everybody was super confused about where all of this was coming from. So my nurse at that time paged the on-call doctor, and she had paged him, and hours went by, and she kept popping her head in and asking if he had come in yet, and we were both in and out of sleep, but no, he hadn't come in yet. So finally, about 2 a.m., I would say 2 or 3 a.m., the doctor came in. He took a look at me. You know, I still had a fever at that point. I was in and out of sleep. My pain was uncontrollable. And so he suggested that I probably had a leak in my gastric pouch, which is awful. That is one of my biggest worries that I had going into the surgery, is that a complication like that would happen. So I was really scared at that point. And he had said that the next day they were going to do a bunch of tests to see if I had a leak, if they could see that. And if they couldn't see it, or I did have one, they were going to have to do an additional surgery, which I did not want at all at this point, just because my pain and everything was so bad. Day 3 was probably my least favorite day in the hospital. It was definitely my hardest day that I had to do. My pain was uncontrollable still. We had at this point kind of thought that the rash and everything may have been correlated to the medicine I was on, so I stopped they had me on morphine. I stopped that, and then I was on Tylenol for pain. So my pain was really, really hard to control. I told everybody that I wanted to die and just put me out. It felt like a shark had taken a bite out of my side, and I just didn't want to deal with it anymore. Unfortunately, I really did have a lot of regret on these first couple of days. I was like, what did I do to myself? I'm never gonna be happy or feel good again. And I did have a lot of regret. But day 3 was the day that they did all of the testing. I had to do a CT scan after drinking some contrast to see if they could see a leak. They also did a sonogram on both of my legs just to see if there was any kind of blood clot. In addition to that, because of my heart rate, they also did an EKG this day, and those are the tests that they did. And when all of those came back, they determined I had no blood clots. They determined I was tachycardic, which they already knew, and they did put me on a heart monitor as well. And my CT showed that there were no leaks. But the CT scan, my doctor said, is about 90% accurate with that. There's always, a possibility that it can't catch everything in there just by the scan. So they did schedule for the next day, Thursday morning, an exploratory procedure to go in and see if they could see any leaks. So, Wednesday, after my surgeon had received all of the results and everything, he decided to put me on an antibiotic. They did, blood work every day. They also did a urinalysis on that day. He was a little weary to put me on antibiotics just because at that point he hadn't received any results and didn't know what he was treating, but he went with his gut and decided to put me on them anyway. So then we skipped to Thursday morning, and the surgeon's residents came in the morning, and I woke up feeling so much better. I was finally back to myself. My pain was okay. My fever was gone. My rash was gone. And they were pretty amazed when they came in and saw that. So they pushed the procedure back. They wanted to see how I did throughout the morning. And then they would have the surgeon check over everything around noon, they said, to see if they were going to go forward with the procedure to see if there was a leak or not. When my surgeon came in, he said that he had gotten the urinalysis results back and that there was an infection in my bladder that I had before surgery. I had no symptoms of it, so I had no idea that it was there. And when I had the surgery, my body couldn't fight off both. So the infection got really bad because, my body was like, I have to go take care of this major surgery that happened. I can't take care of the infection too. So the infection just got bad, and that is why everything happened. The residents and the surgeon did end up canceling that exploratory procedure after they saw all of my results from the blood work that day and saw how much better I was feeling with the antibiotic. I was so relieved when they finally canceled that and cleared me to be able to eat and, well, not eat, but drink clear liquids again. It felt like a huge weight had been lifted off of my shoulders. I didn't need to worry that I had a leak anymore. I was feeling so much better. I was able to sleep better. I was ready to get out of there at this point. But my surgeon wanted to have me on antibiotics at least for a couple more days, so I didn't get out of the hospital until Saturday afternoon. I really wanted to leave a lot earlier, but I'm so glad that I ended up staying just in case anything did go wrong. And I'm so glad that my surgeon stuck with his gut and put me on the antibiotics before they put me back in the OR, because I don't think that I would have been able to pull through, at least not feel good pulling through that anyways. My pain was under control. Everything had kind of subsided. I felt like myself again. It still hurt to get up from, a laying or sitting position. That was the hardest part. But I did walk the halls. I was taken off of my heart monitor, and they cleared me to go home on Saturday afternoon. So I was so happy to finally be home. All right, everybody, so I'm going to leave this video here. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments for me, please leave them below. Be sure to like this video, subscribe if you want to see more. I think for the next video, I am going to do a 1 month kind of a follow-up, give you guys some examples of things I've noticed in this past month, changes I've gone through in this past month, as well as what I'm eating and what I have eaten for the past 4 weeks. So if you want to see that, be sure to subscribe, come back, stick around, watch those, and watch me on my journey. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.